Hey everybody, Tim Coates here at Ethos Car Care, and today I want to walk you through the installation of our brand new Graphene Matrix version 2.0. Now, if you want to know the difference between this and our previous version of coating, click the link above and we'll go through all the differences and all the changes we made. But for this video, we're going to talk strictly about the application. So obviously you want to prep the vehicle before you apply the coating, and we're going to walk you through all the steps of applying that and prepping the vehicle. Also a link above for that. So this video is strictly the application. We're going to take our Graphene Matrix coating bottle and shake it up very well. I do recommend as well making sure that you have gloves. The reason I like using gloves is because, not because necessarily the coating is bad for you, but you don't want to have anything on your hands, any oils or any other chemicals or anything else on your hands on your surface that can actually get and contaminate the workspace. So gloves just ensures you're going to have as clean of a work environment as possible. So we're going to shake up our graphene coating bottle here. And really what you're looking for with this is going to vary depending on your temperature, depending on humidity. So higher temperature you are, higher humidity you are, the faster this is going to flash. So do keep that in mind. Start with a little smaller of a section first if you're working in a high humidity or high temperature environment to gauge that flash time. And I'll show you here in a second exactly what I mean by the flash time. Shake the bottle really well. Just to get you started, we're going to just do about half the size of this hood. Now this is a pretty small hood, but we're going to break this up into just half of it at a time. We're going to take our applicator, and break the cap here, and apply about 10 drops to the applicator. Enough just to get you started. We're going to start from the center and work our way to the edges. We want to make sure that we're applying this in a thin, even layer. You can go back over the areas you've already covered. And if you notice the applicator is not gliding as smooth as initially, it means you need a little bit more coating. We're going to apply a little bit more to the applicator, and we're going to continue the process here. So you're going to see as you're applying this coating, it'll start to rainbow. That basically is the solvents and the carriers that are in the coating flashing away, and this is what you want to see. We're going to go back and forth just to ensure we got maximum coverage. And when I know everything's fully covered that I want, we're going to let it sit. So what you want to see, and while we're letting the coating sit, I do recommend just putting the cap back on. That way you don't have any accidental knockovers or spills. And also if the cap is off the coating, it can actually cure quicker due to the atmosphere. So what we're going to look for here is the rainbow is going to start out a lot brighter and it's going to start to fade. When that rainbow starts to fade and it turns into more of an opaque film and it starts to haze, that's when we know the coating has flashed. That basically means that the coating resins have migrated from the coating liquid to the surface and the solvents have flashed and gassed off. And that's when we know the coatings will be ready to wipe off. So like I said, in this temperature, I'd estimate about a minute to minute and a half before we start wiping off. I'm going to just do a little test section here just to see everything is looking good. If the coating wipes off pretty clean and pretty smoothly, that means it's ready to be removed. If it smears a little bit, it's a little too soon. If it's a little grabby, it's a little too late. So do gauge it based on how the coating does feel on the surface. Just going to wait a little bit longer here. And as a side of caution, it is better to remove it sooner than later. If you do wait a little bit too long to wipe off the coating, you can have what's called high spots, or it could be a little bit more stubborn, a little bit more difficult to remove. And I'll show you a quick way to fix that here as well too. So it looks like it's getting ready to remove. It's fully hazed. The rainbow is pretty much subsided. So we're taking our microfiber towel here, and all we're doing is just leveling the surface. Very, very light pressure, just the weight of my hand, and knocking down the thickness of that coating and buffing off the residue. We're going to go back over. I flip the towel over to a clean side just to ensure everything's been wiped off. I'm checking things from different angles. I see there's a little bit of coating here that I missed. Or take your towel, flip it to a new clean side, and just lightly retrace all the areas that I originally wiped off. And we're going to finish that stroke off the edge. We're to be careful that, let's say this is a full vehicle. Use your imagination that this is a full car. If I'm doing the hood, I'm making sure I'm not pushing the coating off onto a fender, or I'm not pushing the coating off onto a bumper or anything else that I either haven't hit yet or I've already hit and I've missed. Because if I do that, I wipe some coating off into another panel and I forget that it's there. When I come back around, that coating will have cured and will have caused a high spot. So you do want to make sure that you are bordering all the edges of your work area as smoothly as possible, and you're not leaving any stop points, either on the work surface or on the adjacent panels. If you leave a stop point, that's where you get a high spot, and that's where you can get some coating that's been pushed. So I like that work time. It looked really good. So that's about 2 minutes here in this environment. Like I said, depending on temperature and depending on what climate you're in, humidity-wise, it could be a lot less, it could be a lot more. So do play it by ear, just depending on what temperatures you're working with. So we go ahead here and coat the second part. Put some more here on the applicator. And we're going to start just a little bit more on the side that we've already coated to make sure that we're overlapping here. Once again, just straight lines until I see the coating is becoming a little bit more scarce. Apply it a bit more on the applicator. And then we're going to cross, go back and forth over. And the only reason we're doing this is we want to make sure that we're just applying a very even layer of coating. We don't want to have a spot that's really thick, and we want to make sure there's no thin spots. Once again, same with the wipe off. What I like to do is make sure I'm not stopping. I'm not creating a hard point or hard stop in the middle of a panel. So if you noticed where I'm finishing the stroke, I'm lifting off and I'm finishing a stroke off the edge of the panel so that I'm not causing a hard stop on the edges or in the work area itself. So as you can see, the coating is beginning to rainbow, beginning to flash. That's exactly what we want to see. And that rainbow will turn to a slight haze. And when that rainbow turns to a slight haze and subsides, that means it's ready for wipe off. So now we're going to take our wipe off towel, fold it up here in quarters, and once again just follow the same steps. So very lightly going to start leveling down this coating. I like to work just one little section at a time. We're going back and forth, very lightly removing any excess coating. And I am paying attention, I am taking note mentally what side of the towel I'm using for what part. So this initial side is going to have a good amount of residue of the coating in it. So I'm not going to want to use that for the final wipe. I'm going to flip it over to a nice brand new clean side that doesn't have as much coating residue. And I'm going to use that to final level. If I use the side that has a lot of buildup coating in it, especially if I'm towards, let's say, the halfway point or the end point of the install, that towel is actually going to have quite a bit of coating in it. And that actually could, just by setting it on the surface or by using that, it's going to leave some coating behind. And once again, could cause that high spot. So just keep that in mind as you're going through. I usually recommend using anywhere between 3 and 4 separate towels to do an install. And as you rotate through, let's say the first towel you use becomes more saturated with coating, go ahead and put that aside and grab a new towel to make sure that you're using the most optimal amount of both pressure as well as a towel that's not saturated with coating that could cause any high spots or issues. So there you have it. Version 2.0, just as easy, if not easier than the first version. We increased that dwell time for you guys to make this even easier to wipe off. The slickness, you must really feel to believe. The gloss, you must see to believe. And the performance is going to be sure to blow you guys away. So as you see, the application is really easy. This can go on the glass, go on your paint, go on your plastics, trim, wheels. It can go on top of your other coatings, your other graphene coating, version 1.0. You can top it with this and have some great results. So anyways, guys, wanted to walk you through that quick application. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. And make sure to stay tuned for our other videos as we dived in this coating a little bit in more depth, as well as our maintenance and care videos, which are going to be coming very soon. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.